How is everybody doing tonight? Gracie, how are you? How are things down in Texas? Hello, hello. Just give it a minute here to let other people join. I'm trying to, a little bit of a better setup this time. Hey, how are you? I'm glad you could make it. Last week we had the old setup with the couch and things like that. And actually I had a tripod and I was going to use a tripod to prop the camera up, but I can't find it. You know how it goes where you put it in a safe place and that safe place happens to disappear. So I'm going to hold the camera so if it's a little shaky, looks like my hair's a mess, but it's all good. Doing well. It's been, it was a little warm over the weekend. It was, I guess, Saturday. I think they said it felt like 100 degrees. It was like 90 some degrees or something like that. But for the most part, I'm okay in the heat. But it got a little hot. But today's a little cooler. And then tomorrow's back in the 60s. So that'll be good for that. How are you guys? Jenny, where are you? What state are you in? So I'm looking forward to... Oh, Jersey. Okay, so you're actually not that far from me. Good old Pittsburgh. I haven't been out that way in a long time. I have family that lives out about an hour south of Pittsburgh, but it's been quite a long time. I guess prior to the COVID, since the last time I've been out there. But yeah, Jersey's not that far. I'm just south of you here in Maryland. So last week we tried this format, and well, first I apologize if I'm looking all over the place because I'm still getting used to the whole camera thing, and I really don't know where to look. So we'll get there. So last week we tried this ChatMS, and I've been doing these weekly chats. It's been 7 years now, believe it or not, and I kind of went over this last week, but hey, we'll do it again. So it actually started on Twitter. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a shameless plug here. So if you're on Twitter, follow me there, and you can participate in the live chats there too. We do it every Monday at 7 p.m. That's Eastern time. Started on Twitter, and then we actually expanded into Facebook because we found out there's a lot of people that find Twitter kind of hard to use, and it's understandably so. And a lot of people aren't, may not necessarily be public with their MS yet or anything like that. And so they wanted a more private space to talk. Hey, how are you? They wanted a more private space to talk. So we did create a private Facebook group that is called, #ChatMS. So if you're on Facebook and you want to join the group, just search for that, and we'll get you added there too. So we do it on Twitter, we do it on Facebook, and then actually on Instagram as well, to where a lot of times, since Instagram's just pictures, I will screenshot like the tweets, I guess, and then post them on Instagram, and then people comment there too. And one of the main reasons for starting these chats is back when I was diagnosed, just talking with other people with MS helped me, I guess, accept the diagnosis, the most, right? So just, you realize that the disease is manageable, and you just find out like how awesome people with chronic illnesses and MS, or even just other illnesses as well. Like, it's amazing the communities out there that you would never even know, right? Like, before diagnosed, like that's one of the positives, right? Is so many amazing people that I never would have met if it wasn't for this disease. It like basically opened my eyes to a whole new community that I never even knew was there, right? And I don't know if you guys were in the same boat, but just doing like the walk MS events or the bike MS events or just things like that, but just making these new connections. And since that's what helped me the most, I wanted to do my part in trying to bring the MS community together, and that's where these weekly chats were born, in a sense. Hang on, I got some notifications popping up here. But that's how these chats came together, just to just to bring people together. Again, if there was any way I could prevent somebody from feeling, the way I felt at diagnosis, then, that would be awesome. So that's how this started. And then you guys are awesome, and thank you for all the follows and support here on TikTok. I'm still new to that. If you notice, I don't really post that much, and I'd like to change that. I know I was posting every day there in March for MS Awareness Month and things like that, but I'd like to keep posting. Obviously, just share my journey, just as you guys do. I love watching all your videos and just how you push forward no matter what you're facing and things like that. It's so inspiring. So I'm glad to have expanded here to TikTok and just to meet all of you guys. And, it is really, really cool how much support you can get from people that you haven't even met in person yet, right? Some of my best friends I haven't met in person, But, yeah, so there's that. So this week, again, before we get into the chat, last week we did talk about, what did we talk about last week? I am brain farting right now. It'll come to me. But anyway, so this week's chat is going to be about mobility aids. And not everybody with MS may need one, but there are some that use them, whether they need them or maybe it just helps them feel more comfortable, right? Maybe it gives them their freedom back. Maybe it's not necessarily they're constrained to it, but it's actually giving them the freedom back that they once had before. So we're going to talk about that this week. Just share your experiences, or maybe people are getting to the point to where maybe they're thinking maybe they need some sort of device, whether it's just braces for their legs or their ankles, or maybe it's maybe it is a cane or a rollator or a scooter or something like that. And sometimes that's a tough decision to make, right? It's a big life change, and even though it helps us, or helps those get some of that freedom back, sometimes there's a little stigma to that, right? Like sometimes there's a stigma when it comes to using some of these devices. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to try to catch up on some of the comments here. Love Pittsburgh, but hate the summer. I hear that. Heat intolerance. Yes. That was, thank you. That's what we talked about last week, is heat intolerance as the temperatures are warming up. Thank you, Gracie. Yes, that's what we talked about last week, and there's a lot of great cooling equipment and things like that out there. But again, before we get started with the questions this week, one, remember, I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. So anything you hear me say is not medical advice by any means. If you get tips or anything from anybody else, I do encourage you not to make any changes to your healthcare regimen before talking to your medical team or anything like that, because we're just a bunch of people with MS, just kind of having conversations, right? That's what we do. That's the best way to make connections. And one of the key assets to dealing with more experts than some of the doctors are. I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%. And I think I told the story about my first neurologist when I was diagnosed. He pretty much, one, told me I was making it all up, right? But then I guess when he found out it was MS, he literally took pamphlets of medication. And at the time, it was all still the injectable medication. So basically the ABC, injections, Avonex, Betaseron, Copaxone, and I think Rebif was the other one. And he just threw them on the table. And he said, here, pick one. Any one of these will make sure you never have an attack again. And I think we all know that treatment aims to slow down the disease, but nothing's guaranteed, right? If there was a treatment that said, hey, you'll never have an attack again, that would be somewhat of a cure, right? The dreaded C word. But where I'm going with that, because you said we're more experts than some of the doctors are, is because I still hear stories of people local seeing that same neurologist, and he's still telling them the same thing. And that was 10 years ago when I was diagnosed, or coming up on 10 years. So I think the patient voice, especially for the MS community and other chronic illness communities, the patient voice is being heard more and more and more. And I think the more we do that, the more we get our voices heard, the better we can do that. So again, I'm not a medical professional, but let's just talk and share experiences. So yeah, pretty much Dr. Mickey Mouse, right? I don't know. I always make the joke that, hey, somebody had to finish at the bottom of the class, right? Like just barely pass, but you can still get your certification or whatever. But anyway, I see an MS specialist now up in Delaware, and couldn't be happier. He's really awesome. So So I guess let's just get started with the chat. I have 8 questions for you guys. Maybe it'll take an hour. I'm rambling a little bit. It's already almost quarter after, but hey, that's okay, right? So the first question, again, it may not pertain to some of you, but that's okay because it's still good. I think some of the key assets to dealing with this disease, one is knowledge, right? The more you can learn about disease, I think you better be off. I also think positivity, and I also think making connections. I heard a saying one time. It said, MS breaks connections, but it's connections that's going to stop MS. And I think that's true, that the more we can band together. So the first question of the chat this week, I don't know if you can see that behind me, but it says, for some with MS, there comes a time when a mobility aid is either needed or it's helpful. Now, the aids have so many benefits for people with MS as it helps them be able to do normal day-to-day tasks. So the question is, do you guys currently utilize any mobility aids? I do not currently, but again, I love hearing about other people's experiences and just seeing what's helped them the most in different situations and things like that. So do you guys use mobility aids? Jenny, okay, you do. And I don't know if you said earlier what you had. I think I saw something. I'm trying to scroll through some of the comments here. But what is it that you use? Okay, getting a rollator. I am not, but I should be, as I'm unstable now, 22 years. Now, is that 22 years since you've been diagnosed? Okay, so we have rollator, we have arm crutches. Another rollator and a cane. Balance isn't always great, and it helps me from falling over. Hey, that's what it's all about, right? That's why we use them. You know, we don't want to slip, trip, and fall, and just take that chance of hurting ourselves. So 22 years since diagnosed. Okay. So have you talked to your doctor or anything about getting a mobility aid? So I've seen a couple comments on the rollator. Like, what's your experiences with them? Like, do you love it? Like, is it awesome? Because I've seen a lot of things or a lot of posts, I guess over the past couple years. Maybe it was after Selma Blair was diagnosed. I can't remember when it was, but I've been seeing a lot of posts about like rollators and things like that, and people were so excited to get them. So a love-hate relationship. Okay. So what does a rollator, I guess, help you with most? I guess it's balance, I would assume, right? Okay. I have one, but only in the house. Okay. It's helpful because I can sit down when needed, which is always good because rest, right? Like we know with MS and fatigue, or MS fatigue is a big part of that, right? And even these mobility aids can help with that too, to help us maybe become less fatigued if we're trying to walk somewhere, especially when it's hot, right? We talked about heat intolerance last week. In the wheelchair today, can hardly walk. Now, I know you're in Texas, but do you think that's heat related or just one of those days? One of those MS days? And thank you for all the likes, by the way. I see we're at 1,000 likes somehow. See, I like the heat as well. Like, I do okay. Now, when it's real humid, I will say that drains me, like, quick. But detoxing off of tech, start Ocrevus. Okay, that's exciting. That's exciting. I hear great things about Ocrevus. I think if I start having problems with the Gilenya, I'm on Gilenya now, but if I start having problems with that, that's probably where I would look to switch to as well. Now, not really a question pertaining to this chat, but we're just here chatting, right? But did you have any of the flushing or the GI issues on the Tecfidera at all? Do I do okay in the cold? I do not like the cold. Like I don't like the cold. I get so achy and stiff and spasms and things like that for cold weather for me. So I'm glad that we're out of the winter months. Not that here in Maryland, I guess the winters haven't been too crazy the past few years, but it still gets down in the 30s and, a little below and things like that. So, okay. So Jenny, you don't like the cold either then? So, all right. So let me switch over. Maybe. Hang on. Oh, all right. Technical difficulties. Hang on. Give me 1 sec.
Hey.
Hey.
I have to put in the trash.
It might still be good.
5:15. 4 hours.
No to the heat. I'm a teacher, so my summer breaks is pure hibernation. There you go. Heat is a killer. All right, so question 2 then. It says, so would you say, for those that use the mobility aids, would you say it's a necessity? Or would you say you have them around just for like comfort or peace of mind? Or maybe both. I know some people on Twitter said, hey, it's for both, right? Some days it's a necessity, some days it's not. Some days I just like to have it just in case something happens, right? I'm worried that something might happen, so it's kind of my security blanket in a way. Can you guys see the screen okay? Okay, so necessary now, or maybe in the past it wasn't as necessary then. It's a necessity for Gracie, okay. Necessity at the barn around horses. Okay, do you ride horses then? Okay, so I got foot drop and seizures. Okay, so some days it's a security blanket. So do you have braces then for the drop foot or foot drop? Ride a motorcycle, and since I've gotten so bad in the last 6 months, I had a trike conversion. Okay, but you're still able to ride though, right? You're still able to get out there and ride. What Jenny, if you don't mind me asking, like, are there any braces you would recommend for somebody who's starting to have foot drop? Okay, diagnosed last February. Okay, as in like 3 months ago, February, or last February, like a year ago. Oh, okay. So a few months in, and I always hate saying this, but it's like, welcome to the MS family, right? Like you never, it's a family you don't want to be a part of, but it's an awesome family to be a part of because everybody I've met is like super, super supportive. So it's a good community to be a part of. It's a good support system. If you have any questions, obviously you can reach out to pretty much anybody and we'll be here to support you and, hopefully be able to answer any questions that you have. They're available on Amazon. Is that's the product that Dr. Gretchen was talking about in that one video, right, Jenny? That straps around the ankle and then latches to your shoes? Awesome. Okay, yeah, that looked really, really cool. And I'm trying to I'm trying to reach out to Dr. Gretchen to see if she would actually be a host for the chat one day. I think it'd be an awesome topic for her to discuss because she does with her, physical therapy and things like that. I think that would be really cool to, to get out with other people. So I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm trying. I think she would be a good host. I've had doctors host in the past. I've had Dr. Boster. I talked about him last week. I've had him host before on Twitter. We've done some live sessions with him many years ago. He's awesome. And we've had the MS Society host one time. So I'm always looking for guest hosts and things like that. So I'd like to. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to try, and that would be really cool. I guess I'll switch to the next one. So question 3, I know I'm moving back and forth, guys, so I apologize. But how far along into your MS journey did you start to utilize a mobility aid? Like how far after being diagnosed, or maybe it was even before diagnosis, but did you start to utilize a utility aid? Trevor from MS Gym. I am not aware of Trevor, but I am going to write that down. Sorry, you had a little view of my ear there. But I'm going to write that down and see if I can get in contact. Day 1, okay. So 2 years, about 6 months, I have progressive, okay. So Jenny, with day 1, did you have a lot of symptoms then before getting your official diagnosis, or? Again, I apologize for kind of swinging back and forth here, but hopefully I'm not making you dizzy or anything. Apparently I spilled something on my shirt. Pretty stubborn about going in. I hear that. And actually, I always wonder, because I always hear that optic neuritis is the first reported symptom for a lot of people. And part of me wonders if it's because maybe they're experiencing something else, but they never go in for it. To where all of a sudden, like, once something happens to your vision, you're like, whoa, that's pretty important. I got to go get that checked out. Just a thought I had one time. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know it can be pretty scary when your vision messes up, right? Okay, so there's one that had optic neuritis. Actually, for me, it wasn't. It was just numbness. Like I woke up one day and I was just numb, like my tailbone area, and it just spread throughout the day. Diagnosed with optic neuritis, 1999. It's funny because I guess being born in the 80s, I still think of 1999 like it was just like 10 years ago. So not diagnosed until 2016. Okay. So random question that has nothing to do with today's chat, and actually it'll probably be another topic down the road. But for those that are newly diagnosed, I guess especially just because of the experience I had, but the neurologist or the specialist you're seeing, like, would you say you're comfortable with them so far? You're happy with them? My whole right scapula caved in. Yikes. It became, wow, in the hospital for 1 month. Awesome. So it's so good to have that positive relationship with your neurologist, somebody who you're comfortable with, right? Somebody that's not gonna just treat you like a number. Again, that first neurologist I had, being newly diagnosed at the time, I would ask so many questions where I would literally write down questions, and every question I would ask, he would literally interrupt him and be like, nope, nope, nope. And I'm like, come on, man, you're not even letting me ask my questions. Where my first appointment with my current neurologist, I think I was in his office for over 2 hours. And like he actually take the time to talk with me and explain things and things like that, which is amazing. She's in Africa a lot, treating people. Oh wow, that's interesting. Love my neurologist, become great friends. That's awesome. Infusion nurses, that's good. 75 years old and he's not listening. That's not good, especially with somebody who you were comfortable with, right? And that's changed over time. So that's a bummer. And MS specialist, yeah, I agree. That is a huge benefit. Because again, I see one in Delaware now. I'm assuming you see one in Jersey, but yeah, I think an MS specialist is important. I guess I won't say it's a necessity, but I think it's a huge benefit because they actually take the time and research, right? They know what's going on with the disease. You know, I know my doctor even does his own like clinical trials and things like that, but not all the time. I'm not sure how much. I've never been enrolled in one, but infusion nurse is an absolute angel. See, that's awesome. That's awesome to be able to, just have those relationships. Hey, Tracy's here. Tracy joined. She just joined in. Everybody say hi to her. Heads MS research and trials in Pittsburgh. See, that's awesome. Awesome. I think it's such an exciting time. I think I'm saying like every 5 words here, it seems like, but I think it's such an exciting time to be diagnosed because if you were to just look up news stories, there's always some sort of research or some sort of breakthroughs or something out there almost on a daily basis. And I know I get so sick of hearing things that are like, hey, this showed results in mouse trials or things like that. And then all of a sudden, like, you hear nothing about it, right? It just disappears. But you know what? That's okay because it's still learning, right? It's still a learning experience. And that's one of the things I think is exciting is that we can keep track of all of that. And I hear so many people tell me, yo, you don't think that money that you raise, for these bike events or things like that, you don't really think that's going to research. And I'm like, well, I absolutely know it does because, and what do we have now? Almost 20 treatments on the market, including Ocrevus, which helps in progressive MS. Whereas, 20 years ago, there was, only a handful and it was the injection base that are only 30% effective. So I know that, these events work, like these fundraising events are working, which is really cool. But anyway, sorry, that was a little tangent. So how far into your MS journey did you start to utilize a mobility aid? And it seems like there was a couple different answers there. Some were right away, some were a little longer, things like that. So question 4, it's really weird when I look at that because everything is backwards and it looks like a foreign language. But so how did you know it was time to start utilizing a mobility aid? Like, how did you know, like what was happening to let you know, or what was happening that thought entered your mind and said, you know what, it might be time I need some help with something? Like what happened to put that thought in your mind? And I guess, was it a decision you made, or was it a decision you made after having a conversation with your doctor? Like how did, like what was happening? Started falling, okay. Which is never good. I'm gonna move the phone real quick. Can't walk a straight line. Kept falling. It's like that slogan. You might have seen it on a T-shirt or something, but it says, "I'm not drunk. I have MS." Because people can't. Some people can't walk straight. That have MS. Maybe they're walking like they are drunk. Never had a conversation with a neurologist about it. Okay. So you just knew, right? You just knew that it was time. Which is good though. Which is good that you were able to make that decision. I had a wristband. I had fall risk, and my nurses had my windows open. Started to limp more and lose balance. Tripped over frequently. Okay. So I'm not sure if this is a question on there or not. It is. Okay, it's my next question, so I'm not going to ask then. So I'll wait a couple more minutes and I'll switch to the next question. I almost gave it away. So is it something that I know? I know Madam Jackson said they didn't talk to the neurologist about it, but For those of you that did talk to the neurologist about it, was it something that you brought up with them, or was it something that, maybe you just went in and they started asking you questions, or maybe you had to fill out some survey or do some sort of like walking test, or they found something on the neurological test? Big Girl kept saying it was my size and didn't want to use anything. I understand that too, actually. Like, there's so many, not even when it comes to mobility aids, right? But like if something happens that's MS related, maybe it's like some sort of symptom, even just numbness, right? Or heat intolerance or fatigue. I guess I'll just use fatigue. Fatigue would be a better one. Like, it kind of sucks to sit there and just be like, oh, it's MS related, right? Like, it's not just because I'm stressed or not just because I've been so busy this week. Like, it sucks to actually just sit there and be like, ah, MS, you got me again. They had you do walking tests. Nope, just needed it for my safety. Started using it on my own, and that's cool, right? Because that's goes back to the first question. Is it a necessity when you first started using it, or is it something just you have as a security blanket because maybe you might need it from time to time? Now that I think about it, I don't know if I've ever done a walking test at my neurologist. I mean, I do stumble here and there and a little off balance, but I don't think I've ever actually, like, I've done the whole thing where you got to put your head up and touch your nose and stand on one foot and all that stuff, but I don't think I've ever actually like had to walk a straight line or anything like that. But everyone kept telling me the feeling might come back. Made a choice after falling and nearly breaking my back. Yikes, that is not good. Yeah, that's definitely something you don't want to happen. It took me years to accept it. It was really the MS. Yeah, again, that's one of those things where, like, there's a saying, and I actually used to use it all the time in some of my posts, but there's a saying out there that I found out that a lot of people with MS don't really like. So I stopped using it. But that saying, if you guys ever heard the saying, it says, I have MS, MS does not have me. Yeah, you guys ever heard that? But I found out that so many people don't like that because at some point MS does have us. And I know obviously what that saying is about and things like that, but there's a lot of people that don't like that saying. But I love the mentality of the saying, it's never going to beat me. I'm going to keep going no matter what. And I think that's awesome, the positivity. But I did find out that a lot of people don't like that saying for some reason. My neurologist said, let's have a talk. I use a walking stick and a power chair. Okay. Can I ask the group a question on this subject? Yeah, absolutely. Nopety, nope, nope, nope. I love the name, by the way. Nopety, nope, nope, nope. What's your question? Go ahead. We'll wait for that question before we go to the next one, which is somewhat associated with this one, but because it does have me, have to accept it and live with this monster. Yeah, and it's tough. Like I kind of just said, like if something happens and you realize it is the disease and it's not something else, and you're like, oh, like it's so hard to accept that or admit that, right? Because we always want to put it off on something else because we don't want this disease to be the reason for anything that's happening, right? So the question asked is, so when you do fall and you decide it's because of MS, how do you know? Like, what does that feel like? Like, it's, and I'm going to kind of elaborate. So please, if I get this wrong, yell at me. But does it feel different? Like if it's from an MS related fall versus, something else? Like what does it feel like? How do you know that maybe your stumbles or your falls are MS related? Yeah, so I guess, like, how do you know if it's MS related and not something else? Kind of comes from the regions. I guess the only time I've fallen was after my diagnosis. I usually fall later in the day when my spoons are low. I knew it was symptomatic when I fell. I'd been having tremors and felt myself like lose a step. Okay. Has anybody ever wall walk? I guess where you're kind of walking and you're kind of holding onto the wall the whole way. Never tripped over air before. According to people who saw me fall, there was no trigger. Awesome. So thank you guys for the responses to that question. I saw a saying one time, and again, you guys probably already seen it too, but it says, I don't fall, I just do random gravity checks. So you guys should start using that too. That one kind of made me laugh a little bit. Wall walk all of the time. Yes, all the time. The wall is my friend. Yeah. That's how I get up and down steps, by wall walking. One of my knees will just go out. So did you get an answer to your question? Like, were you kind of happy with some of those responses or anything you wanted to add to that? Again, I love the name, by the way. Again, I apologize for moving back and forth. I had a tripod that I grabbed, and I have absolutely no idea where it is. But each week, we're going to get better and better with the setup here. So this question 4 here was, well, how did you know it was time? So then the next question, how did it make you feel? Right? When you figured out, all right, I'm going to need some help. Like, I'm going to have to get an aid of some sort to help me. How did it make you feel after you realized that you're going to need assistance? Like, how did that make you feel, emotionally, mentally? Like, what was that experience like? Because that's obviously a huge life change, right? To make a huge a huge event, in our lives. So it felt uncomfortable, okay, and I think that's completely understandable. I put stickers on my cane so people wouldn't judge me. What kind of stickers? Felt defeated, yeah, and sad. Was 30 years old and went from fully able to needing an aid. And again, I have a question on this coming up too, but like at 30 years old, if people see somebody at that age using an aid, people have a tendency to pass judgment, right? Or stare or things like that. But MS Warrior stickers, awesome. I like it. FUMS stickers, okay. And they do stare. And I know I had a video on this a little bit ago, but like I don't understand why it's so hard for some people just to mind their own business sometimes, right? Like, just go about your day, let me go my way, and we'll be okay. Fairy lights, okay. People judging invisible illnesses, absolutely, right? Like, I don't think they understand. And again, I will admit that's one of the things I learned after being diagnosed is to almost be more compassionate or understanding. Like, I had no idea what MS was or even like invisible illnesses that existed. So I know for even me, like, I didn't know what any of this was, and those people probably completely ignorant to the fact that they exist. But still, it's like, what gives them the right to pass judgment, on somebody else? Wait till you're older, then you'll know pain. Yeah, absolutely, right? They don't know what we're going through, right? So many people with chronic illnesses are in so much pain all day, every day, and nobody believes them, right? Lately, I get rude with them. Yeah, set them straight. The young girl that everyone knew with the walker. So you almost got labeled, right? You kind of got a new nickname, I guess, in a sense, from other people just because of that, which is a shame. they just come up to you and shame you, which is terrible. I don't understand. Like, I guess I'll never understand the mentality of that. The parking stickers, yeah, that's a big one. Like the handicap parking spots, right? I see so many stories, and I've actually been seeing them. Some of them they're like recorded where, they'll have the handicap placard even, and they get out of their car, and then people are like going right at them, and it's like, why? Just mind your business. Or I've heard people say, "Hey, you can have my handicap spot if you take my illness too." You've been spit on for real? That's terrible. Wow, that is awful. That's probably wow. Wow. I'm sorry that happened to you. That is terrible. Wow, that's awful. I'm so sorry. If somebody had the nerve to speak of my MS, it would not end well. See, there you go. You got to set them straight, right? And people are so incredibly mean. Absolutely, they can be. I use a cane, a walker. Give you at times a scooter. You can imagine I get all the attention. I've seen it sometimes to where, like, if you go into like a Walmart or things like that, and you might find a younger person, riding the scooters, right? And it's like, you don't know what they're going through. You know what I mean? That maybe they walked into the store just fine, but if they didn't use the scooter, they wouldn't be able to walk back out to their car. So the question was, how did it make you feel after realizing you needed an aid? And it sounded like, it was pretty tough, for some of you. So I will go to the next question here. And again, I apologize for my rambling, but hey, it's good to talk to you guys. So since this just kind of came up, right? So the next question we kind of segued right into that, I guess. But question 6, do you ever get any comments or dirty looks from other people when you have to use a mobility aid? So what do you do or say? And I think you guys just kind of answered this. But I guess I'll expand a little bit more. Like, would you say it's a daily occurrence or a weekly occurrence? However often, we go out. Or however often, you go out in public or a store or anything like that. Like, is it a daily or weekly? And I guess maybe I'll expand a little bit further. Like, so a lot of people may stare, but how often would you say, like, you get comments, right? Or maybe people will question you or come up to you or anything like that. Like how often do people actually take the time to speak or say something to you? More so pity. So you have a chance to kind of explain your story then, right? Like, or I guess, all right, let me expand into that then too. Have you ever turned one of those moments into, and then maybe I'll say a positive moment in regards to being able to spread MS awareness, right? Maybe people aren't sure. And then maybe they walked away from that and they're like, "Oh wow, I had no idea. Like, that was really cool. Thanks for letting me know." I want to educate them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, awareness is so important. And I know, again, even when I was diagnosed, I've heard of MS. I just had absolutely no idea what it was. Or even now, I find so many people that are like, "Oh, it's that muscular dystrophy," or they just hear. There's so many misconceptions out there that immediately they think of when you say MS. But that's awesome that you get to ride horses too, because I'd imagine that's like a huge stress reliever as well. you're over it. You're over just the comments that people make, or the staring, or the dirty looks? Can't believe how much I've learned in the 6 years. Yeah, absolutely. And I know, again, I'm coming up on 10 years. I guess I'm at 9.5 years. So November of 2012 was when I was diagnosed. But my son was 5 at the time. And just going to the different we started doing like walk MS events, and then volunteering at bike MS events, and just going to all these events pretty much every year. And just him being able to grow up and just kind of going through this, with us, and my wife too, just kind of all going through this together. It kind of like educates them even, at a young age to grow up just knowing that, hey, this is a real thing that happens. When they ask what happened, I say nothing. It's all in my head. The staring is the worst. You want to say, do you have a question? That's actually kind of like a sub question to that, right? Like, at what point, you have people look, but at what point does it become almost like too uncomfortable where you're just like, look, turn around, like, quit looking at me? Like, have you guys ever done that? Like, they just kind of maybe do like double takes or triple takes, or maybe they'll look at you and then like they'll whisper to whoever they're with, and then they look back at you. And like, at what point, have you been like, all right, look, what's going on? You want to talk? Do you have a question? Just ask me a question. Started having a spasm, and the guy began laughing. See, that is so messed up. Diagnosed 13 years ago, was 28. It seemed everyone in my town with MS was so much older. May I ask how old you were when you were diagnosed, K Chase 14? When people are annoyed with my slow pace. See, that's another one I don't really understand. Like, why is everybody in such a hurry these days? Like, just slow down and not worry about rush. It ended up me being very informative and handing out my business card. That's awesome. Turning into a positive. Lady was still not at the grocery. I looked at her, quickly looked away. If they're behind me and get past me, I make rude comments. I was 28. So actually, most people are diagnosed between the ages of 20 and 40. So you were in that range. But yeah, I agree that, I guess it seemed like a lot of people, could have been older, at that time. I wish TikTok was around back then. Yeah, I say that all the time too. Again, I'm new to TikTok and all, but, I always say, obviously, I'm not thankful to be diagnosed, but I'm thankful to be diagnosed at a time to where social media exists, right? And I know there's so much bad and negativity to social media, especially these days. It seems like everybody's fighting over something, but like, just being able to find everybody else, like, I don't know what I would do, without you guys. Like, I don't know what I would do without the online MS community, because it's helped me, so much. Yeah, I had TikTok for the longest time, but just kind of scroll through and watch videos, or Tracy would send me videos or things like that. And I was gonna post, but then I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable in video. I almost completely just fell out of my chair. I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable in video, but hey, here I am talking to you guys, right? So thank you for the 2,000 likes. Also, this is awesome. Most of my TikToks are about MS. It's my therapy. I will have to follow you. I can follow you from here. Sweet, I just followed you. I believe I'm following most of you guys. If I am not, I apologize. All right, I guess I'll go to the next question. So, question 7, a lot of people, I do have relapsing MS, yes. A lot of people look at mobility aids, or maybe they'll see somebody in a wheelchair with a cane or with a walker, and a lot of times people can look at that in a negative way, right? They can look at that in a negative light, or there's that stigma that's out there about these things. But what do you want people to know about them, like, to get rid of this stigma? Like, mobility aids are not negative. It is helping people live normal lives, right? It's helping people live at least as close to a normal life as possible or as they once could. Like, they're there to help us, right? They're not a negative thing, but yet it has that negative stigma about it. So what would you want to let people know just to try to get rid of that stigma? He says he is a comfortable, but he's a natural speaker, right? as I say every 5 minutes. We did talk about heat sensitivity last week, but if we have time, hey, we can go back to that. Last week that was our ChatMS topic. This week we're talking about mobility aids, but last week we did talk about heat sensitivity and then cooling equipment like cooling vests and things like that. I was terminated, and when my employer brought up my MS. You were terminated because of the MS? Because that's not good. It is definitely hard to admit and kind of take that steps for sure. Mobility aids are so beneficial and are not limited to rollators and canes. You are 100% correct. Like even what was it called? The dictus, the foot drop thing. You could always wear that and nobody would even know you had it on, right? Just because it straps to your ankle and things like that. But they're beneficial to help people live their lives, right? They're beneficial to help people be able to be mobile, right? Like they're out there and they're helping people. If I'm not using the aid, I'm stuck in my house with anxiety. I want them to know I'm not dying. I just need a cane. Yeah, absolutely. People seem to think the worst, right? In every situation. I don't know why that is too, but they completely seem to think the worst. I want them to know they can ask, but people don't want to tell their stories all the time either. And, that's an interesting statement. That's a very interesting statement because actually one of the biggest pieces to MS awareness or advocacy is potentially making yourself open for questions. However, not everybody's comfortable with that. So I guess it would be hard. Some people might be like, hey, don't just stare at me. If you have a question, just ask. Or some people might just be like, look, I don't want to talk to you. Just leave me alone. He never admitted it, but he terminated me because of my inability to perform as my equals, which sounds like, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. That's actually I guess a fine line to kind of toe down, and I'm sure you've been looking at all those options and things that are out there to kind of go down that path, but that is one of the things that I worry about. I won't say all the time, but because MS can cause people not be able to work normally, right? Like a lot of people have to quit the workplace even because of the disease, and that's something I kind of worry about all the time. If I'll ever have to make that time. When I announced to my family that I have MS, my dad's sister said, "My condolences." Ugh. It's definitely not the support you want to hear, right? Is there anyone in here that has primary progressive MS? Is there anybody in here that does have primary progressive? So we have secondary progressive, okay. Okay, Gracie there has PPMS. See, I love this, making connections, right? That's what the whole purpose of these chats are, and I can't believe I've been talking for almost an hour now. So thank you guys for kind of hanging out with me so far. So I too do have the relapsing MS. I'm not sure if I said this, or I did say Gilenya. So I do take Gilenya. It's a once a day pill. When I remember to take it, I have skipped a dose here and there. Awesome. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. And again, I still have one more question here, but if you have any suggestions just to make this any better or more friendly, again, I'm new to some of this TikTok stuff. I don't know what's available in the lives or anything like that. But if there's any tips or advice you guys can give me just to kind of what we could improve on, or even topics. I asked last week too, if you have any topic suggestions. I know, again, I do the chats on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram as well. And this was the topic there. So I've just been trying to keep keep with the same theme, and I'd like to do this every week. If you guys are cool with that. So, though next week there is Memorial Day, I'm not going to do a chat next week because of the holiday. So lonely. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for coming in. Again, I'd like to do this every week. As long as you guys feel like hearing me ramble, we'll keep it going. Again, if you have any suggestions, obviously I'm all ears on that, because there's probably so much that I don't even know about that. Resources for patients with MS. That's a great topic, because there's a lot of resources out there that a lot of people don't know about. Maybe it's, whether it's financial assistance or different grants for different mobility aids, even, or cooling vests or things like that. I know we talked about like the MSF and the MSAA. In addition to the MS Society, have great programs for assistance and things like that. We should do a chat about how friends leave us. That's also another good topic. So many times you hear people that were, your close friends, all of a sudden you may not be able to go out and hang out with them, and then all of a sudden you just stop getting the invites, right? So people, you always find out who your true friends are, right? I've heard that and so many times. I have many resources to share, so that would be awesome. So glad I was scrolling lives. I'm glad you're here. I think I've said 100 times now, I'm not exactly the most comfortable. As you can see, I'm rotating back and forth, and I'm moving, but hey, each week's going to get better and better. So many resources for that topic. That's awesome. So we'll have to hop on that. Last question. So what tips, and actually I like to end all of my chats with this, but again, when it comes to what works for you and things like that, again, don't make any changes without talking to your medical team. But so what tips or advice would you give to someone who maybe they think they're at the point of needing a mobility aid or an assistive device of some sort, but maybe they're afraid to take that step, or maybe they don't really know if they need to take that step, or they're just kind of worried about it? Like, what would you tell them? What advice would you offer them? I would love to have guests one time. That would actually be really cool. Again, I guess on TikTok you have to have 1,000 followers, I guess, to be able to go live here. But I would love to do that one time. Talking about our emotions, absolutely. A lot of people, when it comes to MS, you think about the physical side of things, but in many cases, it's the emotional side of things, or the mental side of things, can have even more of an impact on people with MS than the physical things. Things like, depression or loneliness, things like that can have a huge impact on somebody's life. Just do it. Yeah, that's, I know that it's an old cliche because of Nike and all, but just do it. Just start with a cane if you can. If you can get past that, I guess I'll use that word stigma, or past that fear of being judged or whatnot. But, just remember, you're doing this to help you. You're not doing this to please anybody else, right? You're doing this to live a normal life as much as you can. It's about you. Who cares what anybody else thinks? I bought my dad a walker in his favorite color and encouraged him to use it. Somebody earlier said they put stickers, which is awesome. Try it in the comfort of your own home first. See if it's works for you first. Also, good advice. Embrace it. There's more people like us out. Oh, I lost it. There's more people like us out there that feel the same. Absolutely. I think it broke it down. I just totally lost. Oh, there we go. I think it's, if you look at the 1 million number in the United States, and I don't know if everybody here is in the United States, but I think most are. If you break that down in the population, I think it equals out to be like, just MS alone, like 1 in 350 people or so have MS. And that's just one chronic illness. Just look at other people out there that have other conditions, right? So there are people out there, there are more people out there like us that we don't realize. I was scared to make the step, but some of Blair inspired me to just go for it. Yes. Question: have you seen her movie? I have not seen it yet, and I keep meaning to watch that. I'd love to join one day and advocate for MS in my town. That would be awesome. We should definitely do that. I'll have to. It was on Discover, right? Discover Plus, something like that. I'm gonna have to find that movie. Like I've heard so many people say they were afraid to watch it, but they were glad they did, because they got so much out of it. I did see. Is it Jason De Silva? When I Walk. Have you guys seen that documentary as well? I believe it's called When I Walk. He had a second one that was along the same title, so maybe I said that incorrectly. But I believe it's called When I Walk. When I Walk or When We Walk. But it goes through Jason De Silva's story as well. It's also a really good documentary. And again, some of it can be pretty upsetting, but it's, it shows his story. And again, it kind of goes back to, everybody with MS has a different story to tell. But I do like how Selma Blair, and all right, so we're at our hour, which is cool. But hey, if you guys want to hang on a few more minutes, I'll just keep on rambling. But I do think it's cool how when Selma Blair was diagnosed, she kind of went public almost right away. Like I'm sure there's a time period she didn't. But what was cool is if you remember, like she was on the red carpet, like with the cane and things like that, and then she was out there and just kind of made her MS life public. And I thought that was really cool. Like you see, I remember, there's multiple celebrities that have MS, right? Like Montel Williams advocates a lot, and things like that. And he advocates a lot for like the medical marijuana piece and things like that. Jack Osborne is another one that was diagnosed, but you don't really hear too much from Jack. And I mentioned him, and it's nothing to do with him actually at all, but he was on Dancing with the Stars that one year. Again, that was many, many years ago, I guess at this point, when Jack was on Dancing with the Stars. And it's almost hard because people don't understand what MS is, right? Like, he was on Dancing with the Stars, and you had, like, maybe half of the MS community was like, yeah, this is awesome. MS is getting in the spotlight. This is great. And then you have, like, the other half of the community might be like, oh, great, well, he's on Dancing with the Stars now. Now my family's going to think I can get up and dance, or he's going to think I can do everything that Jack can do. And I think that's one of the tricky things when it comes to MS awareness or celebrities or even anybody, really, or how MS is portrayed in movies or TV or things like that, because it does affect everybody so differently that it's kind of hard to capture that. I don't know do you remember, I guess it was either Ty Sabri or it was I think it was Tech Federa, actually. They had a TV commercial come out a few years ago, and, it's like your typical drug commercial, and it showed like a woman just going through and she's swimming and she's jumping and going to carnivals and riding rides and just kind of living the dream. And then there was so much uproar over that commercial just for an inaccurate portrayal of MS that I think they actually got the commercial taken down. But anytime, you're right, Clay Walker does have MS. And Christina Applegate was recently diagnosed as well. Ann Romney, I guess can't forget her. Hey Lena, how are you? Don't like how MS is portrayed in the drug commercials. Yeah, actually, that's what we were just talking about. Like, well, it's any drug commercial, really, right? There's always the joke to where, like, hey, the side effects, you can die from this and die from that, and people are, like, dancing and having a great time. But it's so hard to portray somebody with MS because it affects somebody so differently. Like, you might have somebody that, is using a walker, is using a wheelchair, but then you have somebody that's not, and they're out there running marathons or whatever. So it's so tricky because no matter how it's portrayed, it's never going to capture the full umbrella, I guess, of the disease, if that makes sense. Take a pill and you can swim in the heat. Right. Yeah. Richard Pryor did have it. The girl from The Sopranos, I don't know who that is. I don't think I've ever seen The Sopranos. Can you believe that? My mom used to talk about commercials like that, about the dancing and happy faces. Yeah, the side effects are like 10 minutes long, and they're out there, partying it up, right? We are all the same, but none of us are alike. I love it. 100%. Yeah, Jamie Sigler. Yep. You're right. I forgot about her actually being diagnosed. But yes, you are correct. So, Lena, what we were talking about today was mobility aids. And we were just talking about, who utilizes mobility aids, like how you felt, or how did you know it was time? How did they make you feel? Do you ever get dirty looks and things like that if you're using a mobility aid out in public? Again, just trying to share our experiences. And, I think we did a good job of that today. Again, hopefully you guys, had got something out of this, right? Maybe made some new connections, or maybe, kind of learned a little bit or something. Because that's what we do. We just come out here and we have a good time. Yes, yeah. I did call it the snowflake disease, and I didn't get any comments on TikTok, but Instagram went crazy over that because I used the word snowflake, and I'm like, come on, guys, be better than that. Yeah, every week I try to do a different topic. And I mean, obviously, some of them will repeat, usually once a year or so. Like in the beginning of the year, like in January, I always kind of use that as like my new season, I guess, if you will. So usually the first chat we do in January is like our diagnosis day. Because I think Diagnosis Day is usually one of the heavily participated chats, right? Because everybody has a story for that. Everybody has a story. There's always people being diagnosed really every day, and they're out there looking for answers or looking for similar experiences to know they're not alone. And then usually after Diagnosis Day, I usually go in and we talk about treatments, because when you're diagnosed, what are you faced with? You're faced with treatment decisions, right? Whether you want to get on a treatment at all, or, don't worry, there's only 20 to pick from, right? But we can't guarantee it's going to work. What do you do for that? What are you talking about? But we do switch it up every week. And again, whether it's fatigue, whether it's, emotions, whether it's things like that. We've talked about like relationships with doctors before. Pretty much any topic that's related to MS. We've had guest hosts again in the past, so would love to have you guys host one time. Again, if you have Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, give me a follow, or on Facebook, look up the group hashtag ChatMS, because we chat there too. I was going somewhere with that and I completely forgot. I guess it would just be a shameless plug then. I'm sorry. I was going to say something else and it escaped. Haven't seen an MS Med commercial that didn't make me angry. Yep, I've been seeing a lot of... is it Kesimpta? Kesimpta is the one I've been seeing here recently. Glad I caught at least part of your live. Good job. Thank you for joining, Deb. Yeah, I'm glad you stopped by. The MS brain, yes, absolutely. Good old brain fog, right? Just forget what I was completely getting ready to say, or stumble in my words, or something along those lines. I forgot what I was just talking about, like right before all that. I was going somewhere when I started plugging my channels again, and then I completely forgot. But we were talking about topics. Yeah, so every week we do a different topic. We've done diets, always a good one. Diets and exercises and vitamins and supplements and just anything that's related to MS. We can talk about. We've talked about driving. Are you still able to drive? Are you not able to drive? Are you still able to work? Are you not able to work anymore? We've talked about dating or disclosing to your employers. That's always a good topic because, legally you don't have to disclose, but some people feel like they have to, and things like that. The Facebook page is a group. There is a Facebook page called Must Stop MS, but that's just a public page out there. But there's a private Facebook group where we do these chats every week, and it's just called hashtag ChatMS. And I don't know if there's a way. Can I type in here? Am I able to type? I am able to type. I'm going to put that in here. Hang on. So if you just search for that on Facebook, it's a private group. The other documentary I mentioned is from Jason De Silva, and it's called When I Walk, I believe, or it's something along those lines. What about treatments out of the USA? I can't really speak too much for that. I know there's a lot of stem cell treatments. I hear of out of the U.S. Personally, I'm a little leery of those. I know there's people that have gone through clinical trials in the U.S., mainly in Chicago. There was a doctor out of Chicago that was doing them and things like that. But I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of companies and a lot of people out there that are trying to take advantage of people. They know people are scared, like when they're diagnosed, and they know, people are looking for that quick cure, right? Everybody wants that cure, and I think there's a lot of companies out there. Actually, there's one in Florida, I believe, that always promotes, and I can't remember, it's a Stemgenics or something like that, that are promoting stem cell transplants and things like that, but don't really show too much results. Or so I'm a little leery when it comes to traveling to another country, for things like that. And again, maybe that's just me. People have maybe had a lot of promise for that, or a lot of maybe people have seen some good results from going to other countries and doing things like that. But even here in the States, like I've seen some people that have had amazing results. I've seen people that have had amazing results, but after 3 or 4 years, they start having symptoms again. And hey, maybe that 3 or 4 years is completely worth it, right? And then I've seen people where some of their symptoms have completely reversed. But is it on Netflix or something? I think I saw it many years ago. It might have been on his website. It might have been like wheniwalk.com or something. But I will see if I can find... Actually, Tracer, if you're still in here, can you try to Google that and maybe post a link? Jason De Silva, When I Walk. But even stem cell transplants, again, I've got, I would never judge anybody for what treatment plan they go with. But I do think that's an exciting avenue that we're going to see a lot more stuff with. I know recent studies did show that after about 10 years post stem cell transplant, I think it was 40%, maybe. It was 40% of the people that got it were still symptom free, which, I mean, 40% is smaller than 60%, but 40% is still still an amazing number. So people do see great results from it, but I know it's risky. I know a lot of people ask why it's not FDA approved yet. I know some people think it's because, hey, it is the cure, and obviously they don't want to come out with the cure because then they lose a lot of money. But I do think it's just because of the risk factor. Like, I believe me, there is a lot of money in MS treatments and things like that. So I'm completely on that train, but it's risky because in a sense they're giving you chemo to kill your immune system, which opens you up for so many other infections and things like that, or maybe now even with COVID going around, things like that. So I think it's still very risky. So I do think that's why maybe it hasn't gotten the full approval yet. However, I do think there's more and more clinical trials using stem cells and things like that. So I do think we're going to see a lot more in the future doing that. I don't think I could do that unless I was doing really bad, like I couldn't function. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same way. Of course, it's a money game. Yeah, there's so much money out there for treatment. It's amazing. One of the things I think about, like if you look at Ocrevus, which is new, what's it, almost up like $100,000 now? I don't know. I'm not on it, but I know you guys have probably seen, your bills from that. But I think what amazes me the most, and I don't know how this is even legal, again, just my opinion with all this stuff, but you have Copaxone, right, which came out in 1994 or something like that, and I can't remember what the initial cost was off the top of my head, but it was like, say, I don't know, I'll just throw out a number, less than $20,000 a year, maybe. I could be wrong, but here we are, 1994. How many years is that? 20 something years. And now it's up to like $60,000 a year. And I'm like, hang on, this medicine's been out there for how long? How is it legal to be able to increase? So yeah, it is definitely, it's all about the money these days, and it's a real shame. Can we talk about family that doesn't take your MS seriously? That's another good topic. We can try to talk to some family members, and they act like they're listening, or maybe they're really not, and things like that. Capaxone, okay. I hear a lot of people like Capaxone because in regards to like side effects, there's not many. I guess maybe you can have like site reactions from the injections and things like that. But start Ocrevus on Friday. I bet you things are going to go great. I know a couple people in here actually. I think that also just started Ocrevus recently, so maybe they can share their experiences. But I hear nothing but great things about Ocrevus. I haven't really heard anything with serious side effects or anything like that, so I think that'll be really cool. Tysabri is almost 10K a treatment, yeah, and that's once a month, right? So that's over 100,000 a year. I heard. I guess it was CVS Pharmacy. I guess this was maybe in the past year. So Tecfidera, there's now a generic treatment out there for Tecfidera called Vumerity. And so many people were getting the copay assistance and, were getting Tecfidera for free, which a lot of medications out there can do with their patient assistant programs and things like that. Well, this generic came out and now CVS Pharmacy started switching people and almost forcing them to use the generic, which means, hey, I don't get my Tecfidera for free anymore because they're making me use the generic Vumerity. So now they went from getting all their medication for free, now having to pay. And it was a big fight with the pharmacy and the doctors because the doctors were putting, on the script, no, like, I don't want the generic. And CVS was still doing it and ended up being like a huge fight. And I haven't heard anything recently, so hopefully they got that figured out because that would be a disaster. And I know at work, they just recently switched insurance plans. And I had to fight to kind of get the Gilenya covered as well. I thought I was going to lose that for a second. But I think we got that figured out. So it was... it's always a hassle, right? I'd be too scared to do stem cell transplant. I'm with you. I'm in the same boat, at least right now. Ocrevus billed my insurance $100,000. That is insane. I'm on Ocrevus if you have any questions. No, they are not listening. Is that, I'm assuming that's the family member talk. Sorry, I'm just not catching up. That's why I think pharma does not want to cure. There's so many. What's that statement I heard one time? Like there's no money in healthy people or something like that. So I hear that all the time. Again, do I think we'll ever see? I think I did a video on this. In my personal opinion, and I'm going to echo what Dr. Aaron Boster said out of Ohio. You'll hear me talk about him a lot, but. Do I think there will be a cure? Yes. Do I think it's going to be anytime soon or in my lifetime? No, I do not. And then again, I think the different people, a cure means a couple different things. Like to me, I think if they could come out with a way that stops progression, like no matter what stage of progression you're in, it stops progression and it works for every single person. To me, I would consider that a cure because for some, maybe they can catch it early or things like that. Whereas somebody else might look at that and be like, no. A cure would be stop progression and I want, the myelin regenerated back and all my symptoms to go away. Obviously, that would be amazing. And actually, there's a lot of test results with myelin regeneration. Not test results, I'm sorry, clinical trials with myelin regeneration. So I think in the next couple of years, we're going to see a lot of that too. I have nobody that's really supportive. I talk about MS, it goes one ear and out. Yeah, I mean, I get that too. Like, I think, like Tracy's here. She's kind of been through all this. She understands with me and things like that. But other family members, you try to explain it. And again, you don't know if they're listening or not. I keep going back here. Sorry. A lot of comments. You guys are awesome. Thanks. This has been over an hour now, and you guys are still hanging out with me. So this is great. My dad compares my MS to his GBS all the time. Yeah, so many people want to, try to compare because that's all, they're familiar with, right? Injections are never fun. I don't think so. When I was diagnosed, Gilenya was the first pill that hit the market. And my first neurologist, I told you, was a nightmare. He wouldn't even consider it because it was too new. But I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could ever push that button. I don't know if you have the auto injector, but I don't think I could ever do it. I would literally just be sitting there, and like I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I think just have anxiety and depression that I've never had before it. I have so much anxiety. I've been on Ocrevus. Your mom legit put you in the hospital because she didn't know how to deal with IMS. Are you serious? Was your first Ocrevus, and for those who are on Ocrevus, was your first infusion smooth? Any issues? He reminds me that he has diabetes. Two completely different things, but unfortunately, that's what happens. Oh, so CVS forced you to go to the Vimerity. Okay. So were you getting your Tecfidera for free before that and then had to pay, or like did you run into like copays all of a sudden that you didn't have before? Love Aaron. Yeah, Dr. Boster is so awesome. So if you guys haven't seen his YouTube channel yet, please check that out. And he does random lives and Ask Me Anythings and things like that. He's really awesome. I don't think he does much on. I know the Boster. I know he has a TikTok account, or the Boster Center for MS has a TikTok account, but I don't think he does too much on here. I think it's mainly just YouTube. My patient is bedridden and wanting some kind of life back. Yeah, I can't wait to the day where there's like myelin regeneration, because I think that's going to be a huge step forward in that case. I don't know what else to think with pharma. Wow, so many comments I'm trying to catch up on. So you guys are awesome. Hang on one sec. Had the auto inject it first, then switched to the injection myself. Oh, wow. And was just like that. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. That's exactly how I would be. I had myelin regeneration in my big toes. Sweet. All right, I have to ask, how do you know? Were they numb before and then you could feel them, or? Oh, that's right, Lena. I forgot you see Dr. Boster, which is awesome. You go out there to Ohio. First dose, itchy throat and ears. Do they give you Benadryl or anything like that when you get the Ocrevus? Of course, if I had Benadryl, I would just kind of pass out, because Benadryl just knocks me out. Oh, that's awesome. So then you can feel them again. That's good stuff there. We'll take it, right? July 8th, right around the corner. So, all right, guys. Well, it's been an hour and a half. I am going to go ahead and hop off here. But you guys are awesome. Thank you for just kind of hanging out with me and chatting and being friendly and all that good stuff. You guys are really cool. I'm glad you guys joined in and kind of hung out with me for an hour and a half on this Monday night. You know, you could have been watching something on TV or whatever, but you spent your time with me, which is really cool. So I'm glad I started this account, and I'm glad to have met all of you guys. And we'll do it again. Not next week. I'm going to take the week off with the chat for the Memorial Day holiday. But thank you guys for just chatting with me, guys. You guys are awesome. Stay cool. See ya. I don't know how to turn this off.